Now, allow me to welcome our next speaker. Thank you so much. He is the founder of Blend Hub Portable Powder Blending, PBB, and Chemometric Brain, a Dane who has lived in Spain for 30 years. He will tell you why is that interesting. And he spent his entire professional career in the agri-food sector, so he's got a lot of perspective to give us and add for today. Please welcome Henrik Stamm Kristensen, founder of Blend Hub Portable Powder Blending and Chemometric Brain. Where is the sample? I thought you would have one. You didn't bring a sample? All right, there it is. He's got some really interesting points, and I hope you will answer some of the questions we threw at you yesterday.
First of all, thank you. I think you are doing incredibly well. Yesterday, I was sitting on a table with this woman, and she just managed everything incredibly. So congratulations to that.
You.
Absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
My name is Henrik. Been in the food industry since I was 14 years old. Today, we are in UAE. We are in Dubai. And the place we are today was created by very visionary individuals around 50 plus years ago. So when we look back and we're in such a privileged place, and most of the companies that you have seen over these last, let's say, hours and yesterday were also created by visionary people. So I think we can all agree that this is not about me, this is about us. And being about us is one of the things that I would like to share with you today, because the only way that we can truly impact is actually that we frog leap into the future together. When you sit and look, and I started that journey, I was working 12 years in a big international ingredients company that took seaweed from faraway islands and that took citrus peel, that is a subproduct of the juice industry, all the way from Latin America to Denmark to extract one single ingredient. I was completely amazed of the global supply chains. And I was sitting, let's say, basically together with you and looking back at the value chain. And I was, to my surprise, I couldn't really see what was going on. In front of my eyes, there was a huge wall that made me doubt who were the different players in this value chain. And of course, as you can see, over the last years, that has certainly not become easier, because when you sit and look and you see there is some farmers around, in the end, you don't have a dimension. And one of the things that really struck me is that if we look back to the corporates that we have heard a lot of them presenting these days, most of them were created by visionary founders in the late 19th century, between 1860, 70 to around 1900. These companies have been around for more than 100 years, but for more than 100 years they have only been capable of actually producing around 20% of the world's food, but they take 80% of the value. So what struck me again was, what about the rest? And I started understanding that 80% of the world's food is produced by 500 million small, medium enterprises and farmers that have very little understanding. If this is difficult for me, I'm sure it's difficult for many of you, and it's certainly difficult for the ones that are very, very far up or back, depending on how we look at it in the value chain. So I set out to actually start thinking about how we could change that dilemma. So in 1997, my goal, like any businessman, was that actually I wanted to give understanding and access to two things that are available all over the international food industry, that are recipes and ingredients. So when you start thinking about recipes and ingredients, from your house to the restaurants to the industry, this is what we are talking about, all of us, every single day. Independently of the fancy words we put on, it's all about recipes and ingredients. And because I'm, let's say, trying to make it as simple as possible for myself, I said, how do we solve that? And of course, I was so lucky being a Dane in Spain, as Jesse said, that actually we were very lucky when we started. I was already in Spain for the multinational, so I had a lot of customers on the Spanish market. And in 2002, I got through network, freelancers, or people working in this area, I got access to the Middle East industry. And at that time, there was no taxes, there were no import tax, so it was easy to produce in Spain. So we got some very good contacts that we have kept over all these years, and we exported product into UAE, Saudi Arabia, and so on and so forth. So in 2004, when you look around, and again, you're an entrepreneur and you're a business mindset, you said, what do I do? Because I want to impress my customers, I want to do it better. So I went to Germany to buy the best machinery in the world. And that best machinery in the world, of course, needed to be installed in Spain and to be digitized. We installed that. It took 36 months, and it cost me 15 million euros of my own pocket. And when I sat down and I finished the project as an entrepreneur, I said, before I die, I can maybe do 3, 4. I will certainly not take another 100 years. So I told my people that actually this was my museum. And this was where I understood that the static factory was Kodak. So when you see things and you're moving forward in such a complex industry as the one that we all are inside, you say, again, this is my new challenge, so what do I do about this? So I said to my engineers, come here, let's make the letter to Santa Claus. So I want this, I want that, and you know this, and if we can put the factory in a 40-foot container and we can deploy it anywhere in the world in less than 6 months, then we can suddenly localize production and I can build hundreds. And actually, the result is what you're seeing behind. Several of the big machinery producers around in the world and said to me, this is worth nothing. It's actually a blending, a preparation, a blending, a packaging, and a quality control factory in a 40-foot container. I said, I'm going to patent it. You can't do that. Today we have a patent in 85 countries. You can do everything you envision, and you should never listen to that this is not possible. And this is why I feel very comfortable here, because I think that many people here in this region are willing today to challenge the status quo, just as we did ourselves. So once you have the factory, then you start saying to yourself, what happens actually inside the factories and the door next door to the factory? And then I start looking at the labs, because recipes, ingredients, localized factories, production. But what about the lab? What about the whole ideation around labs? We've heard about health, food security. And then I saw this photo there and I said, listen, in the lab industry, nothing happened in 80 years. Still the same people. Maybe they have some more sophisticated equipment. And I saw all this equipment. I didn't have a clue about what they were doing. But I started thinking about what if actually we changed the way we control food. And because, again, as I did with the recipes and the ingredients and the machinery, I started looking at what kind of technology was around that we could actually build on, because at that time, of course, I learned a lot, so it was about not reinventing the wheel. So I found a technology that is called near-infrared spectroscopy, and I said, near what? And then I had a quality manager. I said, Beatrice, come here. And thanks to fantastic Beatrice, before we had a beautiful woman panel. Beatrice, she was playing the Nintendo before. I said, couldn't you play with this near and find out what we could do with that? And then she started telling me that actually it was very interesting, because the near is an imaging technology that you can actually use and you can upload into the cloud. And because of the factory you saw before, we patented it. And now we had the possibility to actually detect all incoming ingredients and final food products. I said, let's go and deploy the first hub in India. And people say, why in India? I said, because we have one recipe and we have one customer in the GCC in the beverage industry. And one of the ingredients is called guar. And people said, guar, what is that? Yeah, it's something that grows on the trees down in India. Let's go there. So we deployed in India in 2011. And with this system of portable, localized food production and digitized food quality, in 18 months, we paid the whole thing. We found a building, we prepared the building, we rented the building for 5 years, we put it into a free zone because I did not dare, if I failed, I would have to go and rescue it in India and get a thing in India and take it out again. It's a complicated thing. So actually, in 18 months, it worked so well that I said, listen, if this is feasible in India with one recipe and one customers, what was the reason? And the first reason was global supply chains again, recipes, ingredients. So we came back to an understanding and say, actually this ingredient, this recipe made us save 30% of the food price. And I said, if this is possible for one single recipe, what about all the recipes in the world? What if we localize food production anywhere in the world and we build a global platform? And my people, they were looking at me again and say, this guy is even worse. I said, let's go to the other side of the world. Let's go to Mexico. But because, again, we had tools and we did not really know about the Mexican recipe, I sent one of my persons over there and started looking into it. And 18 months, we have grown 5 big customers in the dairy industry that were launching vegan products and beverages and so on, and it was flying as well. And then, since then, we have actually launched 8 hubs, 4 continents, in a company that is family-owned with 150 people worldwide. So you can do it. And now what is happening in the coming years is actually interesting because we changed the concept of localized food production. We changed the concept on digitized food quality and digitized supply chains. And we now understood that the future is what we call food as a service. People talk about individualization and recipes, and everyone are developing the same thing. But what if we start looking at the final consumer prices anywhere in the world? What if we actually today are capable not only of understanding what consumers want to eat or drink at any time, what if we start thinking about the small, medium enterprises that are capable at a local level to supply consumers with the right products, health, sustainability, nutrition built into one single food product that we can actually create together anywhere in the world. And the amazing thing is that when you do great stuff, the results eventually in the end comes. So after all these years, and after these 7 hubs, I want to deploy hundreds. And I think this region, what I have seen over the last years, turning towards manufacturing, localization, food security, health for your people, traceability, transparency, it's all in this model. It's a platform model. And the most amazing thing is that people are turning around and start looking at us. No one wanted to do that. But if these people start trusting us, that means that all of you can trust the platform as well. So the issue is that together today, we can actually create any recipe with any ingredient for food industry, for retail chains, and final consumers anywhere in the world in less than 90 days. We have been building on the platform until now hundreds of different stakeholders. In 2012, I created something called All Food Experts. In 18 months, I got 2,000 freelance formulators online from all over the globe. Many of them, by the way, these big multinationals that we know, because when they go in pension, nobody wants to go in pension today because we're all healthy and happy and we want to continue creating. So today, I created Emirati ice cream for whoever who wants to launch a safe and secure food product in any of the malls, and you can actually be there within 90 days on the platform. And this is exactly the spirit of the 80% of small medium enterprises, entrepreneurs, the Generation C, because we want to empower. And if we are not empowering the small medium enterprises, the farmers and the newcomers in the entrepreneurial world, so their trip will become a little bit easier than mine that has taken 23 years to come to this point, we will have problems and we will not be able to solve the world's problems fast enough. So I offer all of you, any of the different stakeholder groups that you might find yourself in, or multiple of them, to actually join a very unique platform that we believe and that we are testing and validating and seeing that every day more and more people are coming. And we hope to be soon in the region definitively, after having tried for the last couple of years to envision that. And in the next event, we can talk about having Emirati ice cream in the stores in Dubai. Thank you very much.